Wow.
What a song. You know, I think I could memorize some of those words.
Yeah, I couldn't believe how you were out dancing around the stage. I thought you were a Baptist, Dr. Reyes.
Yeah. We are very blessed by the song that you just heard. I hope that you'll let it touch your hearts, let it touch your minds. And in just a moment, we're gonna ask Kevin to share with us a few tips and a prayer. And he's got such wisdom on this Bridge the Gap that we want to make sure that your students, and if you have a pastor or mom or dad, if you'll listen to these tips, they could really change somebody's life. And so we want to make sure that you are at the ready in front of the camera and ready to hear what God has to say, because Kevin is back now and he's going to be able to give us a few tips on how to bridge this gap. So Kevin, why don't you share with us a little bit about this, the tips that you have about how to make a difference, and your prayer for those that are out there listening. Why don't you share with us?
All right. Well, if we start with tips first, a lot of things that when I go out and I do my performances and work with our youth, I like to let them know that, first off, that they were all born with a clean slate. They were born perfect.
That's
but
great.
in this imperfect world, we tend to let people, problems, and our surroundings change that.
Right.
And I give them an example, a student that was very smart, but in some ways his grades didn't match up with how bright he was.
Right.
And finally I went to the school and finally figured out what was wrong. This student was being told by his stepfather that he wouldn't amount to anything because his stepfather hadn't amounted to much. And I had to let him know there's no such thing as an inherited failure.
Sure.
But in this imperfect world, it tends to mess our clean slate up. So I let them know also that, there's a lot of it has to do with the smoke screen.
Okay.
And I say there's a smoke screen that hovers around all of us. It's in our communities, our homes, our schools, and the main purpose of this smoke screen is to cloud our vision and stop us from achieving our ultimate goals.
That's a good word. Yeah.
And we talk about how the mind works. We talk about if you're at a movie theater or something and you see the commercial about a soda, get a soda, ice cold soda. And let's say you're watching the movie and they're showing subliminal messages of this particular soda product or whatever. You may leave the movie theater wanting a soda and not really knowing why, but it's because our brain picks up on all of these subliminal things. And at that point, we have to be careful because we can be doing the right thing at school, but our brain is so brilliant, it picks up on our friends and our cousins and family members that's not. And it all starts with a thought, and we show them how thoughts, become words. Words become action. Action creates character, and that determines your destiny. So really being careful on that end. We talk about the game of life, like the song What If formed, and explaining, I give them an example of a video game and how the video game is set up in life for you to go through each board, but the game's set up for pitfalls.
Right.
So when you lose, you don't throw the game away, you learn from the mistakes, you get back into the game so you can pass that level, and the next level is going to be harder, but you're excited and ready to take it on, and that's the game of life.
Amen.
It's going to be pitfalls, it's going to be things that's going to affect our youth, but they have to look at it in that way, and it can help them persevere on that.
And we know that God is there with the pitfalls.
That's right.
God is there to help us with the good times and the tough times, and so that's a great word. And I think, could you speak a little bit more about the friends? Because you said friends say certain words, and that affects our minds. So can you give us a little bit more on that? Because I want to make sure we understand what you're saying.
Well, what I mean by that is a lot of times people can affect us by not even wanting to affect us.
Yeah.
They may just be wanting to help, but if they don't understand, out of fear, and we know when fear comes in, that gives room for Satan to...
Sure.
So, and those things end up becoming words, and words are so powerful. Someone can say, I was told all my life, why are you doing music? You're not going to make it. I mean, they were really concerned. Family members saying, we're in Alabama, you're wasting your time. Focus, but they didn't mean any harm, but those words were things that could have affected me if I would have let them. Wow. So that's what I mean, like friends sometimes. And then you have friends that aren't really your... I explain to kids sometimes, they'll be like, I don't know why he betrayed me. We've been knowing each other since day one. I said, well, did you control where you grew up at? You know,
Yeah.
like these people are just around you through grade school. You all are in the same circumference. That doesn't mean that that's a truly godly friend that's there for you. So, you know, it's those two components, and that can be family members too, as unfortunately. But, you know, that is the reality of what Bridge the Gap. We make sure that we bring it to them and meet them where they are, but it's presented in a way that we explain. In the book, it's broken down, and this is the overview, and this explains why this is important for you to have in your life. Because we're not here to tell them and dictate. No, this is why it's important. This is the solution segment that gives you the blueprint of how to apply this gift that you just learned to whatever you're dealing with. And then we have the short story segment to where they can see someone else going through something and let it be parallel to what they may be going through.
Well, Khao, if you had one phrase that you could give to a student or a mom right now, what would that phrase be?
You know, that phrase would be, if it was one phrase, I would say, slow it up, sort it out, plan it out, make your goal, execute, and you'll be okay.
Amen.
I thought he was going to say significance over success.
That's my main one.
Well, that's what
I'd
I'm
already
saying.
said it.
All right.
But
Yeah.
you know what? And if I could go all over, I would say that would be the main thing. But I praise from the book in the self-determination chapter.
Yeah.
But if I could leave something with anyone, I would say that we all are successful in our own right, but we all really make change, and the kingdom building really begins when we strive to be significant.
Amen. Well, Brother Bobby, this has been a great show and a great time for us, raising the standards.
Yeah.
What's your one phrase that would summarize all we've been able to gather today, Brother
Well, I
Bobby?
just said it's significance over success. but here's what I really loved about today's show and what Kevin's doing is, you know, so we get programmed to think that there's only one way to learn, one way to
Right.
teach, one way to do things.
Right.
And I think he really illustrated that we need to, I know it sounds cliche, but think outside the box and use our gifts and our talents and our passions in a way that really connect or bridge the gap with today's generation. I have a 12-year-old at home right now, and well, hopefully he's at school right now, but I have a 12-year-old, you know, and the way he learns and the things that he's exposed to are different than my 25 and 24-year-old. So
Yes.
I think it's absolutely incredible what he's doing, and I personally pray blessings over his efforts.
Right. Well, we need to connect to that generation, the next generation.
Definitely.
And so I really like the part about paying attention to our minds and to those obstacles and challenges that we face. And so thank you, Kate, Brother Cates, for being with us.
Thank you.
And thank you, Bobby, for co-hosting with me. And for moms and dads and pastors and students, we want you to know that we're working to help you raise us wherever you live, that you might be all that God intended you to be. So we're praising God for you, we're praying for you, and we encourage you to keep watching the Raising the Standards show. We'll see you next time. God bless you now.